and good evening. Welcome to ET Now Startup Central, the first and only daily show in India which is dedicated to startups as well as entrepreneurship. I'm Karunya Rao. We have a power-packed show lined up for all of our viewers out there over the next half hour. But first, let's address the biggest story in this space. In what set the panic button among users, reports suggest that user data from Truecaller was leaked on the dark web. But the company has denied charges of a data breach. Rahul Dayama caught up with Alan Mamedi, the co-founder of Truecaller, for a chat on the contentious issue. Let's listen in to that exclusive conversation.
Could you clarify for all the users, considering India is the largest market for Truecaller, on what really has transpired? Because there is data, names, phone numbers and email addresses that even analysts have pointed out really exist in the dark web.
For us, of course, we have millions of users in India and they trust Truecaller as a product to protect them from spam callers and scammers. We've analyzed the data that we received from the journalists, and what we can see by analyzing that information is that a large percentage of that data does not match and are not coming from the Truecaller data. So from our point of view, when we've looked into this, there's not been any type of breach in our system. But what we have seen is that a few users have been misusing the service and making searches to sort of hit the limit of number of searches that they can do. And those users and bad actors have, of course, been blocked and suspended from using the service.
Got it. So you are reiterating that there has been no data breach from Truecaller's end, but could you go on to talk about the action, elaborate on the action that you are initiating against the so-called bad actors, because you're calling this an instance of an unauthorized copying of data by users themselves. So the question will come around, how could this unauthorized access also lead to so much, the magnitude of data also sort of being available?
Yeah, so just to clarify, there's not been any breach in our systems, and I've seen reports where people believe that we are the ones who are trying to sell information, and that is also incorrect. We never sell our consumer data. In fact, as I said, we stand for trust. So there are in our systems limitations on how many searches you can make, and that limitation is being set by the number of searches and identifications that our users normally need to do. And this is something that we look into constantly on a daily basis to make sure that we always keep a relevant level. And this year we've also made sure that the limit is at a certain level that it brings a great service to the majority of our users. And besides that, we also do have a lot of small businesses who might receive a lot of calls from customers on their cell phones. And for them, we've introduced a CAPTCHA so that, once they reach that limit on a daily basis, they will have to verify that they are an actual person. So this is something that we constantly look into.
All right. Got it. Just want to understand, while you're saying there is no data breach and all of that, but the data that is already out there, although you're saying you did correspond it and check and not much of it matches, but the data that is already out there, what steps are you really taking to ensure that people do not misuse what limited also is available out there?
Yeah, so whether, there's speculations or rumors, we always take these very serious. And in this scenario, we've looked into the data to make sure that, we understand the source of that data, and our analysis shows that the majority of that data does not match with Truecaller data at all. So having that said, we take privacy and security of personal information very, very important. It's a very serious subject.
Got it. Lastly, I just want to understand from you, because India is the largest market, where you are also a UPI player, so to say. So a lot more focus will go into guarding data and ensuring, because we've seen global incidents of hackers also eyeing critical data, and with payments data also now it's so a lot more focus really will go into it.
Right. So when it comes to that, these are two very separate systems in terms of when you make a search and when you make a payment. But having that said, we've concluded that there has been no security breach in our systems. And, when you make a search for a customer, the financial or the payment information is very, very separate. And nothing in there has been compromised in any way. So we take that very serious, and they're two very separate systems as well.
Meanwhile, let's focus in on the e-commerce space, where another deal seems to be brewing, this time between Snapdeal and Shopclues, who seem to be gathering pace. Reports suggest Snapdeal has begun due diligence for what will be an all-stock deal. Rahul Dayama joins in with more details on the story. Rahul, the speculations have been there for a long time. What are you picking up now?
That's right, Karunya. Shopclues has held talks on and off with Snapdeal over the last few years. In fact, they were even in talks with Paytm Mall and Flipkart. But now, as reports indicate, due diligence has begun at Shopclues. Snapdeal is really eyeing this to be an all-stock deal, as you pointed out. It's interesting also to know that there will be clear synergies at play, because both the players now seem to target the Bharat market or the tier 2, tier 3 market, not really going after mobile sales or branded products, but the value conscious customer, unbranded really, in the smaller hinterlands of India. That's what has been Shopclues' strength. But Snapdeal, increasingly, after it's scuttled the takeover plans by Flipkart in 2017, has been able to build a linear business model, focus on profitability, not chase GMV numbers, and that they have done at the cost of making significant inroads in the smaller markets. That's something that did not augur well for Shopclues' business, because their orders have been dwindling, so to say. And Snapdeal also is eyeing a sort of a bigger comeback from this acquisition, because it was help it raise fresh funds, especially when it has been saying that all its focus is on profitability really. So this is something that we will have to wait and watch. We are understanding that the due diligence will take a few weeks, but both the sides are quite keen on the transaction going through. This would herald another phase of consolidation in the Indian e-commerce space. So what was Flipkart versus Walmart versus Alibaba through Paytm Mall will now have a small but significant player in the form of Snapdeal going ahead.
All right, Rahul, thanks for getting us all the details with respect to this brewing story and this brewing deal. Let's bring on board our guests as well to discuss this developing story. K. Vaitheswaran, founder IndiaPlaza.com, is with us. We also have Nagananda Doraswamy, the founder of India Spring. Good evening, gentlemen, and welcome on board. Vaitheswaran, my first question would be to you. We all did see this coming, because the deal has been on again, then off again, but it's something that has been on most people's radar. But Snapdeal, if you look at it, it's had quite a journey from a scuttling Flipkart takeover to a turnaround and now acquiring its rival.
I think it's been quite remarkable from a journey point of view. And I've been quite impressed with the way they first had the, it's not easy to build up the courage and say no to a deal that is coming from Flipkart, in the sense being birthed together by SoftBank. So I think they had the courage to stay away. The conviction was good. And to continue focusing on profitability, which was a remarkable change from their earlier focus only on GMV, to move to more sustainable metrics, and now moving to this, I think it's been a remarkable journey, no question about it. And, on the face of it, if you look at the acquisition, you'll wonder what exactly are they doing. So there are two things. It looks as if, because you already have two large people in the market, one is the Amazon, one is the Walmart, I guess the others will try and consolidate, because individually each of them will struggle to fight this battle with the two biggies. But I think they have a couple of things that may be interesting for them going, especially the focus on tier 2, tier 3 markets. And I know, I mean, I've been in touch with I know Radhika for many years from Shopclues, so I know it's been a focus for Shopclues for a while. I think it's something that if they drive well, they could build something quite interesting and competitive going forward, at least for the next few years.
Naganand, how about you? I mean, as an investor, how are you viewing this development between these two e-commerce players, especially, you know, at a time when Amazon, Walmart, they've had their share of battle as well, their efforts against, you know, strong regulatory norms that apply in the Indian e-commerce space. So how do you see this shaping up given, you know, your track record of tracking these developments?
So, I mean, I agree with Vaiti's point on Snapdeal trying to find a niche, and I think the niche they are trying to find is in the tier 2 and tier 3 markets, whereas Amazon and Flipkart are still predominantly tier 1, and they're also going to expand into the tier 2 and tier 3, I'm sure, in the time to come. And I think there'll be one more player who is going to come into the play, in my mind, Reliance. I think Reliance is figuring out how to enter this business, and I see them coming as well. So, you know, e-commerce, in my mind, is still a very capital-intensive business. And, you know, if you're not able to raise the kind of monies that we have seen companies have been able to raise, it'll be very hard to grow, in my mind. And, you know, Snapdeal now joining hands with Shopclues or acquiring Shopclues, it'll give them a far greater reach and then give them a consolidated position in the tier 2, tier 3 markets. So I think their goal should be now to see how quickly they can consolidate and then be a player and the leader in that space. So hence, from an investor's perspective, I think, you know, you expect these kinds of consolidations to happen. And particularly when large capital inflow is not going to happen, you know, into this industry, I don't think it'll happen in India because so many large players already. You got to look at how best to make use of the situation you have in front of you.
Vaiti, how do you see this changing the dynamics of the Indian e-commerce space? Because, you know, if you look at Snapdeal as well as Shopclues, both are still small players. Amazon and Walmart continue to primarily dominate the space. Even if you look at their per day sales, it's much higher than a Snapdeal.
Yeah, you know, this is the uniqueness of the e-commerce industry, and it happens in most parts of the world. It's happened. If you look at the US, 10 years back, Amazon's share of the total e-commerce market was about 15-20%. Over the last decade and a half, it's actually now inching towards 50 or maybe just cross 50%, which means a single player is more than 50%. And I think that's what you'll see. It's happened in China with Alibaba. It's happened in Japan with Rakuten. I think India will play out the same way. Amazon and Flipkart, that is Walmart, between the two of them will have a dominant share. And everybody else, in a sense, will make up the numbers. So that will be an issue. I mean, I don't think Snapdeal, Shopclues together are likely to fight for the number one position. I mean, it's just too late in that game. And like Naganand said, it needs too much of money, and you have to be smart, not just money, you have to be smarter than Amazon to win that game, and that's not easy to do. And of course, there's this Reliance thing. We don't know what's going to happen. But having said that, I think it is possible for them to create attractive, profitable niches. It could be tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 for now till the others come there. It could also be product categories. I remember having a conversation with some people in Radhika some time back, and my view has always been that, you know, Shopclues should look for interesting product categories that right now is not of interest to, say, Amazon and Walmart. And I think they've continued to do that well. Perhaps some of it can rub off on Snapdeal as well. You know, I'm also going to put something out here which nobody's talking about, but, you know, Snapdeal, Shopclues together could be very attractive acquisition targets for somebody like Reliance. You never know. I mean, because the fact of the matter is Reliance is going to be a big team. They're going to build technology. But their plan is to actually integrate a whole lot of smaller Kirana merchants in small town, tier 2, tier 3. That's where India really does big business. If these people are penetrating, they could actually build an asset that could be of great value to Reliance and for others. So, you know, this could have another twist in the tail a few years down the line. You never know.
think it's a retail business. They've thrust on e-commerce and online retail has really grown phenomenally. So one wouldn't be surprised. And in fact, Vaiti, that was something that I was also coming to. Since you've already established it, I'll also ask Nagan and what he thinks about it. Do you also see an Indian alternative player like a Reliance or any other bigger name step up and perhaps either acquire an existing entity or look at partnerships?
I think Reliance is going to enter this. They're already making noise, and it makes a lot of sense for them. And if you look at their POS missions, they are installing it in more than 30,000 retail vendors and so on and so forth. So Reliance is going to enter it, and there's no doubt about it. And to Vaiti's point, when they enter, they will look at what's the best way to scale. And if you looked at Reliance in terms of acquisitions, in the music industry, they acquired a company, Savan, and now they're on an acquisition spree as well in terms of startups. So I think it is too large and too lucrative a market for an Indian player not to enter it. So my guess is at some point they're going to enter, and when they enter, I think they will look out what's the best way to grow. And if these guys have built a niche and have some leadership position in the space that Reliance want to come in, I'm sure they will look at it positively. Whether they're going to acquire or not, there are a lot of parameters that are going to be involved. That is, time will tell, but yeah, there's a possibility that this definitely can happen.
Just a follow-up question that I have. We started out the interaction with Rahul telling us how Shopclues has essentially catered to a small town client base, and even Vaiti had built on this. Naganand, what do you feel about this? It has largely catered to tier 2, tier 3 sort of target audiences so far. Does it make sense for a Snapdeal to sort of collaborate with it? I mean, how are you reading into the two coming together? What is the kind of benefit that either or could accrue?
In terms of the tier 2, tier 3 market, there is definitely hunger for products, but that one thing that I don't have a complete clear picture of is the purchasing capacity of this tier 2, tier 3 guys in terms of the total market capacity. These guys have good gross merchandising value, but something that time will tell is what is the purchasing capacity of these guys and how much will be done online as opposed to an offline store. So, and if you look at all the vendors in this space, all of them are kind of going to an online and offline model, right? They have online stores and offline stores as well. So as much as e-commerce is going to take off, it is not going to take away the requirements for offline stores. So one thing that will be interesting to watch in the next couple of years to come is in tier 2 and tier 3, what's the appetite for e-commerce and how much money that people are willing to spend online, as opposed to what is the requirement for offline stores. And that's where this dynamics will be interesting to watch.
Certainly. Vaiti as well as Naganand, thank you so much for chatting with us and taking time out to share with us your insights on this deal that is still underway. Let's move right on and talk about another important update that we have in exclusive conversation rather. US headquartered robotic process automation company UiPath is betting big on digital transformation opportunities in India. The company is also ramping up plans to engage with startups in the country. Rahul Dayama caught up with the India head. Let's find out more.
India has been a cornerstone of the success for UiPath. India was one of the first few offices or few countries that we set up outside of Europe when we started, right? We were 18 people, I told you. India is a place where you get option to hire exceptional talent. That is what I always call the talent powerhouse, right? How can this talent help transform the digital transformation journey? How can we be a leaders? For RPA to be successful, you need to have the engineering talent, domain talent, and the processing knowledge, and India has a lot of it. So I feel India has the capability to solve the digital transformation problem globally. There are several initiatives that we want to run as far as India is concerned. How can people understand and learn RPA? So automation first is a theme that we are driving globally. We want people to believe whatever task they do, they have to understand what are repeatable and how it can be automated so that they don't have to do it repeatedly. One. As part of this, we are trying to attract startups and also the student community. As far as startups are concerned, as part of automation first, we want to reach out and bring all of them into fold where they understand the impact and the market potential of RPA and create automation practices as part of this offering along with the core product that they develop. We are doing this and experimenting this in Europe. I feel Indian startup ecosystem is much more vibrant, and if they utilize this, they can grow much faster. We also have set up some dedicated fund for promoting the startups and startup community and startup partnership. So we want to really look out for these startups, bring into our incubation center and groom them.
And see how you. I'll come to more on the startup side, but as far as talent is concerned, would you want to put a number in terms of how many engineers, data scientists you want to hire in India? And is there a job crunch, so to say, in terms of skills, a lot more requirement to train people, skill them, because that's what traditionally all companies here do, right? Increasing number of training. Are you seeing that trend change?
So I will not say there is a job crunch, but there is a good and healthy talent war that's happening. In last round of funding, we said we expect to hire around 1,200 plus people in next 12 to 18 months. We are just 6 months down the line, and we are constantly hiring. Our high focus area is going to be hiring for our product engineering and R&D team that is based out of Bangalore. We want to hire the best in their class software engineers, R&D engineers, and product managers. So that's something the quest continues. There is no higher or upper limit as far as that hiring is concerned. We'll continue to hire more people as far as RPA experts and RPA solution architects are concerned. We'll continue to augment our customer success team. We really want to triple or quadruple our global customer support team out of India. So this is the plan for this. And as far as talent is concerned, we are driving an initiative known as one bot per student. So as you know, the K-12 in India, we have more than 275 to 300 million people, higher education 37 million people. We really want to seed RPA as part of the learning process. So one bot per student would ensure that all the students get free access to UiPath software, free access to UiPath learning, and we will be running dedicated campaign and hackathons through which they automate real business scenarios and solve it, and they get awarded. And also all the people who get trained also get access to our own customer and partner community, and they know how here is a talent pool that is available, we can readily hire.
Got you're bullish as far as India talent. Lastly, in terms of startups, you said there's a global incubation program that you have, but are you also open to opportunities inorganically, here in India to bridge the differences when it comes to talent or tech or otherwise?
Yeah, we always are lookout for best in the class companies, not only in India, globally. Even in India, we have a dedicated team that looks out for open ventures and startup companies, and we come across something, I think we're ready to participate organically with them.
On that note, we'll wrap it up on this edition of Startup Central. Thank you for watching.